Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How you guys doing today? Many Face Publishing. We back at it. So, got my coffee. Broncos Nation. Yeah, I live in NYC and I'm a Bronco fan. Elway, man. You know what I'm saying? I loved John Elway when I was a kid, and just to watch his games is more exciting to watch. The comebacks. Going on the road in the dog pound. I was a kid. I always loved the Giants. Elway was always my guy, and Lawrence Taylor. I used to like Dan Marino too. He, a lot of good quarterbacks, but I used to root for. But those are my favorite two guys, Elway and Lawrence Taylor. But I just started rolling with Elway. He was just, once Taylor was gone, I kept rolling with Elway, man. So it's one of the reasons I'm a Bronco fan, man. And I try to stay with my teams, man. But anyways, I asked a question, I think on Twitter and even on some YouTubers streams, and I heard, YouTuber yesterday talking about what did Coach Prime do to people? And I asked another question I asked on Twitter too was, I asked those same questions, but I asked, what did PBC do that people don't like him so much? And all I got was a emotional answer. I didn't really get a solid answer. Like, what are they doing? And what I've noticed is they make up every excuse in the world to not like certain people that run platforms. And we say, why? And the common denominator is, most of these people are brothers. And the thing is, my answer is, and this is just, this is my own thoughts. There's still a lot of racism in this country, and people are not really saying it, but it is what it is, and it needs to be said. People don't like to hear that word because they don't want to view themselves as that, but the things you say and the way you act can show exactly how you really feel. You just don't want to say it because of the look that it gives you and the meaningless of the word. And I don't think a lot of people are just outright hate and want to see you harm, but they don't want to see you succeed. And it's like, you don't see that happening with people in the power of other races. For example, Deion Sanders, like Ticket TV said, he ain't never spoke bad to nobody. And I'm like, asking the same question to people. What did he do that people don't like him? Oh, his program. They're going to find reasons to not like you because this is the main thing. We a threat. We brothers, and we a threat to the power that be. Let's just keep it honest. Whatever the power that be, you're posing a threat to that power, they'll do anything to get rid of you. Back in the days, they would just lynch you or kill you. This guy's too much of a threat. Now, because of the bad look that it gives the government or the people that's behind certain things, they're not just gonna outright kill you until they're gonna slander you. They're gonna try to dig up dirt on you, tarnish your name, humiliate you, things like that to get you out the public eye, just to turn people away from you. They've done it to countless celebrities, so it's, and the sad thing is usually they have involved your own people to help them. That's been going on for centuries. Because a lot of this stuff wouldn't be possible if we didn't help them. They wouldn't have control of this country if we didn't help them. Our people done fought in probably every war. Our people have helped take our own people down for them to gain more access to this country. You know, these are just my thoughts. And, you know, we you know what I'm saying, a lot of our people helped them, man. And a lot of us helped them out of two things, mainly jealousy and, you know, greed. You know, some people, they're mad they can't do what you do, or they just greedy. They just want a quick fix. So when people come to them to turn on their own people, yo, I'll give you this, take this money, this will help you and your family. You know, this guy here, he messing with him, we're all gonna go down. So why don't you take this deal? You help us get him, we'll leave you alone, you take this money, and you go on about your business. Or probably how they did us with the land is they would get some of the corrupt leaders and corrupt people in the communities and get them to turn on us and get them to cause division, things like that, or get us to make decisions we didn't want to make. And next thing you know, we're being pushed further and further back west. And then the next thing you know, we have no territories at all. And the next thing you know, you got people living either on reservations that are taking advantage of the little bit of rights that we probably never got. But now back to when we talk about like sports. What did Deion Sanders do to these people? Was it Nick Saban, his friend, and he turned around and stabbed him in the back, said some things about him? Like, come on. We got the coach. Oh, we're playing for wins. They're playing for clicks and likes. When I heard that statement, I think I made a video on that. Like, what the hell? What's that all about? It's just a football game because he's doing things his way. And what it is when it comes to brothers, they don't want us to play quarterback. We was a threat to that. You know what I'm saying? And now look, the quarterbacks took over. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you look at basketball, you know what I'm saying? We took that over. That was inevitable. We took that over. We were a threat to that. And we had guys like Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain and Oscar Robertson and these guys, Elgin Baylor, you know, cooking in the NBA, you know, and eventually we end up taking over that. And, you know, like I said, the football position, you know, it's starting to become an athletic position now. It's no longer just some stationary good old boy day where you just stand in the pocket and look for receivers. Now you got to be able to move. Everybody's faster. The game has adapted. So now what's happening is the quarterbacks, they can't stand there. You know what I'm saying? Defense had to adjust to certain quarterbacks that can move and scramble out of the pocket, like Mahomes or like a Deshaun Watson, like a what you call my man Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick, Randall Cunningham. He was Fran Tarkenton. He was a mobile quarterback. You know, you had some mobile quarterbacks that were of other races, but it's like, you know, when it came to the black quarterback, we brought more notoriety to it, more flash to it, like breaking tackles, escaping the pocket. You know what I'm saying? Randall Cunningham was more of he was a scrambler, but he was more of a pocket passer, but he can scramble. You know what I'm saying? Michael Vick, then he came in, he was more of a scrambler. You know, so they questioned his accuracy, all of this stuff, but, you know, he was able to learn how to sit in the pocket and make plays too. You know, like they act like the man couldn't make plays because he could run. You know, Tim Tebow, he made one good play with Denver that got us a playoff victory, but he wasn't an accurate thrower at all. He was a mobile quarterback. He was more of a college traditional quarterback that just ran the football like one of them Army Navy kind of quarterbacks that got on a good roster in Florida. But, you know, they didn't question his skill set like that. They did because he was so obvious he couldn't throw like that. They had to, you know, say something. But if let him have had a little bit of accuracy like Vic, or he would have been the best thing smoking. You know, so that's the difference. Like the standards and the expectations and all of that stuff be different for one quarterback to the next when it comes to race. When it comes to race, you look at coaching. They don't want to give certain coaches chances. Let them prove themselves or whatever. You know, they usually put coaches in bad programs, bad positions, things like that, where they really can't build. Only one that's proven his point was Mike Tomlin. He's proven his point. No matter what happens this year, he's proven his point, because he has limited amount of talent, and he doesn't have the quarterback that can really make plays for him like he did with Ben Roethlisberger, and he's still finding ways to win and keep his team in the season without them looking like they tanking or anything like that. They're always competitive. So, but saying like he's been given that chance by his organization. Other guys don't, coaches, they don't get those type of chances. He's like the only one. But what it is, he's not a threat. It's a big difference. He's not a big threat. Like he's not a vocal person. He's not rallying people, things like that. What I mean by threat is, you look at the Deion Sanders, he's a threat to college football coaching and the culture of everything. One, like I said before, they didn't want to pay those brothers, man, those kids, man. So you telling me those kids go to these billion-dollar schools and y'all don't want to pay them a dime? Y'all sanctioning them for going to take a picture or signing an autograph just to make some money? Most of these kids that you recruit are coming from poor areas. Their parents can't afford that. Pay those tuitions and all that. Imagine if those kids' parents had to pay those tuitions and they're playing football. Y'all making all this money. The parents out here struggling. Kid out here can't even get a meal unless he go to the cafeteria to get something to eat. He has to get a job or something like that. But meanwhile, these universities make all this goddamn money. Raking in money from bowl games, raking in money from commercials, raking in money from being televised. Come on. I didn't want to pay these kids. Y'all give them a hard time, but y'all pocketing all the money. Where's all that money going? Why can't the kids that are help making this money eat? But now they're eating a little bit, and you get Coach Prime coming, and he wants to recruit, bring guys that he wants to bring on the team. Now they want to change the rules. So you want to move the goalposts now, so that, because you see that he exceeded expectations, and you see he's a threat. You see he's getting all of the publicity, and the people are following, people are behind him. So they put that hit job on him with Oregon. Then they thought that USC was going to just run through them, and when he got them boys behind, and they came back in that game, that even though they lost, that was a moral victory for him and that organization to show that, look, we can play with these big schools. We done beat one top 25 team that was in the national championship first game. We done, we done spanked another national team in Nebraska. Even though they're not ranked and they're not expected to be good, we spanked them. We beat Colorado State, one of our rivals. We got blown out, and then they hung around and came back and made it a game. If it wasn't for bad coaching, they probably would have won that game, or at least tied it. You never know. You know what I'm saying? So when we, we're looking at Sin, he's a threat, man. Imagine if he was able to get the recruits that he really want on that team and build that team. That's going to be a national powerhouse. And then he's a brother, of course, that opens the door for more brothers. He's a threat. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't want that. They're looking at the good old days when they get all the credit. They want all the credit, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, same thing with boxing. When you look at PBC, I ask people, what's the problem with PBC? You have people make every excuse in the world. Like Coach Prime, they really can't make it. Oh, well, he's wearing a chain. You got the brother, though. They sent the brother after him. Little fat, dusty nigga. Well, Coach Prime supposed to be Christian. Now you attacking him personally. Instead of talking about the game, man, talk about sports, man. You making it personal, talking about his religion, and, you got rappers at the game. So you saying that because he's a religious person, he can't be human? He's human, man. But that man dancing and standing all up in strip clubs, but no one said anything to you. This is a brother. And this is what I said earlier. You will have some brothers, man, that will work against you. So we go to PBC. What did Al Heyman do? Where's the controversy behind him? He's not even, you rarely see him at any fights. You rarely see him do any interviews. Probably don't even know what his voice sound like. He's a man that's behind the scenes that just knows how to make moves and put money in people's pockets. And he's a threat to people like, you know, Top Rank and other people, because he's letting the fighters eat. The fighters ain't eating the same way that they're eating in other, you know, promotional teams. He's letting you get a piece. He's almost like making you a partner. If you notice, when you look at PBC fighters, most of those guys got their own promotions. Spence, you know, like you know, these guys are Tank. You know what I'm saying? When they get to a certain level, yo, listen, you promote yourself. I'm here to advise you. Yeah, I'm behind the scenes, and I'm the silent guy. But look, this is our team. This is how we gonna work. So you can maximize your dollars. You're the one in there taking the risk. These guys are not going in the ring getting punched and hit and have to go home with brain damage and ribs hurting and your face swelled up and all that. Those guys are going in there like gladiators, whether they're good or not good fighters. They're going in there like gladiators, putting their lives on the line. And then you have some people that feel like, oh, they being overpaid. If you could find a way to pay those guys, pay them. What's the problem? Oh, but you know, if you put these guys in there too fast, fam, all it takes is one fight to end somebody's career, man. Same thing with football. These organizations make millions, billions of dollars, man. Pay the fighters, man. Pay the football players, man. You know, like, you always have your incentives, like in football. If, you know, all right, if you're gonna get hurt several times, I like the way the contracts is, but at the same time, pay the players, man. So you don't have these problems with guys holding out and all that. Have a set standard of how you want to pay your players. You know, like, you know, running backs is a position that, you know, they don't last long. Pay those dudes, man. The same thing with boxing. Boxing is a risk, man. Pay those fighters, man. What's the problem with paying them, man? You want to give them one lump sum and then y'all collect all the money. Because these guys, that's the way it's been done in the good old days. You know, like, oh, we're going to get, you don't understand the business. I don't, but I do understand common sense. Y'all behind the scenes, y'all make moves for the fighters to get the venues and stuff like that. You go to your backers and your investors to get money to, you know, showcase these fights. Put it on the network will host it. Everybody eats off of that. But you guys get the majority of the money, while the fighter, you may pay a fighter $500,000 in a fight, even if it's a free fight, the man that fought, or if it's a pay-per-view fight and he doesn't sell a lot of pay-per-view, yeah, you guys take the hit, but, you know, the fighter is not making no money. So now, you know, you pay that fighter $1 million for this pay-per-view fight, and then you want to take some of it back because it didn't sell. Well, the promotion team's job is to promote the fight so it can sell. Yeah, the fighter has responsibilities to promote itself, but, you know, the promotional team's the ones that's supposed to make sure that this fight gets a venue and has the publicity it needs. You know, the networks are showcasing the fights, you know. So pay the fighters, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that. Pay the fighters, man. You know what I'm saying? But, so that's the problem they're having with Al. He's a threat because they see a lot of fighters are going to PBC and they want to work with him because they see that's where the most money is. He's a threat. When you look at Mayweather, he changed the whole landscape of boxing. Made boxers care more about their record than legacy. And Mayweather cared about his legacy, but Mayweather was about, look, the only way I'm going to stay on top is to be on top. And he stayed on top of his game. He dedicated his life to boxing, and look where he's at now. You know, so what he was, He said, listen, my life, you could tell he lived and breathed boxing. He was a walking boxing Bible inside the ring and outside the ring. And he understood the business. But then you got people, oh, well, Mayweather beat his girl, so Dana White beat his wife up, slapped his wife up on TV. And it's all over the internet. And nobody's questioning him. I don't see people not liking the UFC no more. But you have all these reasons to not like PBC. They never did a damn thing to nobody. Oh, well, their fighters only fight I've seen a lot of fighters in the ring more than twice. You know, saying that they're not trying to build. Like Jared Baby Anderson, he's fighting. He done fought about, what, 2-3 times this year? They're building him, of course. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, is he making a lot of money in those 2-3 fights? No, this ain't back in the day. Back in the days, they had guys fighting like Tyson. He fought, what, 15 times in 1 year? Even though they were quick, easy fights. And another thing, too, a lot of boxing be set up, man. A lot of those fights be set up fights. Guys know they're going to lose, easy victories and things like that to build the guy's resume. Right? But if people forgot, PBC, you still have free fights. You know, when they were all over like NBC and, you know, because they had the bigger platforms, the national platforms. Showtime is a big platform, even though it's parented by CBS. It's a big platform that, you know, but the reason this pay-per-view, because it's a cable channel. Like CBS and all of those are not really cable channels. When we was kids, those were free channels. But so you can get fights for free. When they was doing that at one time, we was getting good fights for free. You know, and that's how these guys built, like a Thurman and Porter. They were building their names off of those free fights. You know, like a Danny Garcia. You know what I'm saying? Like, they built their names off of those free fights. Errol Spence. Like, so, yeah, you build your name off the pre-fights. But when they got to a certain level, like, where people was following them and they were building their names, like Tank Davis, he fights on undercards and stuff like that, or pay-per-views, and, you know, he fought, you know what I'm saying, a few times was the free fights, but he built himself into that. And if you can get the maximum dollars, what's the problem? You know what I mean? Like, because he's letting the fighters eat, so they don't have to go in there 5 times a year to fight. Yeah, as a fan, I would love to see these guys fight a little bit more. So I'm not going to sit there and totally think is the greatest thing in the world, but for the fighters, if you put yourself in their shoes and they're like, yo, if I could go in this fight and make 30 million or 20 million for a real big fight, I don't need to fight 6 times a year now. Opposed to a guy going in there taking every time you go in there, if it's a legit fight, you're taking a risk of getting hit and getting brain damage or getting a broken rib or eye socket broken or something like that, broken jaw, anything can happen. You take that loss now and it sets your career back. You know, like, so, you know what I mean? But I understand, you know, that a little bit of, if you want to base it off the argument like that, that's cool. They say, oh, well, the guys are inactive, but, you know, you can't say that. You're making it seem like they're demonizing the sport. What are they doing to people? What are they saying? What have they done that people can't stand PBC? I get it, because it's black owned. They think it's black owned. You know what I'm saying? They think, because it's Al Heyman running it. It's who's running it. You know, like, and he's a threat to the sport. He's a threat to other promotion companies because they are losing and he's winning. Same thing with Deion Sanders. He is a threat. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you look at a guy like Martin Luther King, he can rally the troops. When you start, see, they're not gonna bother you if you just get your money and be quiet. They're not gonna like it when you start to get a following and a backing, and people start, you know what I'm saying, like I look at a guy like, and I don't like names, using these guys' names, you know, I follow these brothers, they sound like very good brothers, man, they give great information, but a brother like Dan Calloway, right? The minute he starts to create a movement, and that movement gets nationalized. Right now, he's not nationalized yet. They looking at him as just a YouTuber, as guys just, talking. He's putting out great information and stuff, and it's informative. He's getting views and clicks, and they're looking at it like he's not a big threat. He's not really. There's no movement behind him like where people are outside rallying and things like. Let him start getting stuff like that. He's going. The heat coming. The heat gonna come. If I was a guy that had a big following and I was talking like this, the heat gonna come, man. They're gonna dig up everything. That's what they do. They can't just kill you because it looks bad, it's criminal, and it's not gonna win over the people. It's gonna rile the people up more. So what they do is they destroy you with scandals, digging up your history. Oh well, in 1994, this guy was a criminal, and we looked up his search engine, which they all down with. If you don't think they're not watching you, they are. If you got a TV that cuts on and shows you a program, what makes you think they can't watch you as a program? Like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist like that, but it's just common sense. We're being watched. So they'll dig up something. Oh, well, this guy watches porn, or this guy looks up prostitutes all the time, or he everything that ain't got nothing to do with what you're talking about. They want to assassinate your character. That's what they do. So they use these movements like the Me Too, the LGBT. All of these things are used to demoralize a person's character when they get out of pocket. When they he's against LGBT, so he's a bad person. What does that have to do with what I'm talking about in a conversation of sports, or if I'm a politician, or if I say I'm against something? Like, I could say I don't like a certain action. Oh, well, he said this, and so that means cancel him. This is what they do, man. It's obvious, man. Let's cancel him. He's against this, and he's anti this. You know what I mean? Like, or he's anti women's rights. What are you talking about, man? Because I may have an opinion on something. So that's what they do when you're a threat, and you standing up for yourself and your people, and people start to back you, or they're gonna find a way to try to minimize what you're doing, and try to humiliate you. Like they did to Bill Cosby. Like they did to what they did to Martin Luther King was they took him out. Like I said, now they can't take those brothers out the way they used to because of the look. But they damn sure will slander the hell out of you, man. They will dig shit up. They use all these sites. These sites, they're supposed to protect your privacy, but they using them same sites to dig up, whatever you anything that you looked at or anything like that. And they're watching you, because every time you think about, if I say I'm thinking about burgers, and I have a discussion with somebody, might probably go, get me a burger or something from McDonald's, and you type in best hamburger, McDonald's might gonna pop right up. Why is that? We're being watched. So when you start to become a threat, it's a problem. When you look at guys that play ball, like, that they become mega stars, they get their money, they don't say much, they can control those guys, right? When you get those radical dudes that they can rally the troops, they don't do things their way, and people follow them back and they become a threat, it's a problem. Especially when they look like me. Because, when you ask these people, what did they do? They come up with every excuse that makes no sense in the world. That, you would think that you hate the way they hate PBC so much. It's like, you would think PBC said something about women, or was mistreating women, or something like that. Or they were talking about LGBT or something like that. You would think they was disrespecting people, or they done this. Oh, but They're Mayweather's a woman beater. So is Dana White. We saw him slap his wife up on camera. And nobody is discrediting the UFC. Why y'all discrediting Showtime? Oh, they're broke and this, and I told you they're going out of business. They're bad business moves. They've been around for a decade and some change. And they've been putting on the best fights this year so far. And people are signing with them still. You know, so if they're so broken out of business, why are people like Canelo and all these guys still signing with them? Because they're going to make the most money. And people don't like it because it's threatening the way they do business, because now they can't make money like that because it's putting people on to the business of the sport that a lot of people probably didn't know about. Oh, wow, I can get this money off the pay-per-view instead of just taking this guarantee of 3 or 10 million. I can make 30 million off the sales and the ticket prices and all of this other stuff. I can get a piece of that action. And the fight will be a bigger venue, bigger fight, you know, instead of the good old boy way where we're going to give you 20 million. And then if the fight doesn't sell the way they wanted to sell, we're going to take back 10 of that because we're under our budget and we didn't make what we were supposed to make back. And the next thing you know, that fighter, after he pays off everybody in his camp, he's left with $1 million, $2 million out of that 20 million, if that, after taxes and everything like that, expenses. Like, come on, man. So that's what a lot of these record labels do. They didn't like that either. The good old way was we give you upfront cash, and you do what you do with that cash. But then when it comes time to do that on record, or we don't like this record, or they'll shelf your record. Now you owe them all this money for that advance that they gave you, or you do make a record, they didn't give you enough advance money to really, you know, get the right features on your shit, or, you know, your record, say your record doesn't sell, now you owe all that money. But when you're independent and you're doing it on your own, you taking your own risk. So if you invested 20,000 and you only made 200,000, you still up a little bit. But you might not have sold as much records as you thought you was. But if you invested 20,000 or 30,000 on a record, and you sell that record, guess what? And then that record, you sell 250,000 copies, but you spent 50,000. You might have spent less money. The production might not be as great, but if you sold to, you winning. You know what I'm saying? If you make an album, a bullshit album, in your house, and you can go outside and sell that joint and sell, you know, 5,000 copies, you making money off of that. And you don't gotta worry about all these people in your pocket. And that's the problem. It's a threat, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a threat, man. Anyway, man, shout out to all the great content creators. And, you know, I'm gonna give you something else that I wrote in my book, Two-Face, Rise of a Menace. Check that book out. It's on Amazon. Also have Good Friday. It's a horror joint about an autistic slasher. I also have Secrets of Deception. You gotta check that book out, man. That book is real good. It's a short story, real quick read, and it's a lot of action in it. But in Two-Face is more like an urban novel of a guy that learned how to get rich and stay off the radar. And that's the main thing. The only way to really make some money and stay low key. But the minute he became a movement, he was a threat. They came after him. That's in my book. I wrote that book 2007, Two-Face, Rise of a Menace. Cop that. Faces on the cover, you know, wasn't the greatest production, but I did all the work to that book. You know, and in that book, you know, just to give you a little sample, he made an investment with his man with these restaurants, and he created his own franchise of restaurants, and he sat back and let his man get all the credit. Meanwhile, he was breaking in the money off of that, signing a partner, and only him and his man knew about that. Meanwhile, everybody thinking that's his man. His man became a politician. Everybody thinking his man is the sole owner of that company, but he was behind the scenes eating with him. So he financed everything. But the moral to the story is, had his face would have been on that. He says in the book, a restaurant like this, my face can't be on the cover. Your face got to be on the cover, because they're going to dig up every little thing to try to diminish me. So if you change the face, you know what I'm saying, like, you won't get that. You'll get the success without all the scrutiny. So when you look at Nick Saban, I'm pretty sure they paid for players and stuff like that. We can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure they did some things under the table to get some players. I don't want to throw that accusation like that, but we know these colleges is not all 100% right with their recruiting. Dabo Sweeney, their approach, he's a flamboyant type of guy, but he coaches. He has a different style of coaching, but when you change the face, you don't get that same scrutiny. So it is what it is, man. Just it's sad, man. But as far as that fight this weekend with Charlo, man, that was disgraceful, man. I thought he was gonna, and I'm not in the ring taking those punches, but fam, you talked a lot of smack. If you want to get in there, man, at least go all out, man. To me, it didn't look like you went all out. I respect fighters getting in that ring, man, but you took a check, man, and come on, man. That was a disservice to, you said it was for the culture, that was a disservice to the culture, and you didn't go out right, man. You didn't go out on your shield. Spence went out on the shield, man. He even when he stopped the fight, he was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, he went out on the shield. Wilder, he was like, I want to go out on my shield, man. Don't stop, don't fight like that. Biggest fights of my career. He went out on the shield. Those are warriors, man. You didn't, the Lions Den and all that, you didn't go out like a warrior, man. Like, I thought you was a warrior, man. Like, I actually, bet one of my co-workers, man, like, yo, Charlo is not gonna go out like that. And he went out like that. Disappointed me, man. Like, come on, man. Like, could have did a lot better. When you were letting your hands go, you was landing. You know what I'm saying? You didn't use the tape off the Bill fight when he was letting his hands go. Till you kept Canelo always on his defense, kept letting his hands go. They never let Canelo, when he did fight, he kept a high guard. And he stayed off the ropes. You kept the fight in the center of the ring. You didn't do none of that, man. You didn't fight on the inside. I don't think Canelo's a real great inside fighter, man. I think if you would have banged with him on the inside a little bit, you would have had some success, but you didn't let your hands go, man. And now it's a bad look, man, on you, man. Hopefully you redeem yourself, man. But like I said, man, when we look at the faces and be a threat, and you change that face, you don't get as much scrutiny as the face that looks like mine, because we're a threat. And it's really sad that we got to say that. It's just like, boom, another example. You move in a small town, like back in the days in them small towns, right? Dudes are coming from the NYC, go to these little towns. All the girls, like, they infatuated with the brothers. And you like, and the people in the town are like, what the hell, man? Like, we're losing our girls, we're losing that. We're a threat, man. Just bottom line, man. We a threat, man. Even when we looked at our communities back in the days, man, you had thriving communities of people of color. We are a threat, man. They see how we living. Everybody living good. They eating. You had the Black Wall Street, whatever, towns. I'm pretty sure there was plenty of towns like that back in the days where people prospered. They didn't need all this government interference. What happened? Oh, this is too much. They doing too much. Let's destroy that shit. Let's find a reason to get the public behind us so we can destroy their community and make them look like savages. Come on, man. I'm saying they want to get the credit for everything and make it seem like we just piggybacking off of whatever they doing, and we just the beneficiaries of what they're doing, and we get no credit for no inventions. We get no credit for nothing, man. They want to give us credit for, oh, we had some civil rights leaders and those are your leaders, but they never tell you nothing else about history that inspires you. Why is that? Why all our leaders got to be somebody that had to fight for a revolution or do this, and why all our people we look up to is not like businessmen, things like that. Like when you look at Obama played ball. He didn't come in as a threat. Now let Obama right now or back in the day he was rallying people up. They would have slandered the hell out of him. Let Obama right now start rallying people up. On Michelle, they'll dig up every little piece of dirt they can to shatter anything that he's doing because he's a threat. Same thing with Jay-Z. If he come out and start being vocal and start rallying people, oh nah, with his influence, he's a threat, man. Especially people back him, and that's what I mean. Like if you a threat, they gonna do anything to slander you, man. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna do anything to stop that movement, man. So that's, to me, that's what it is, man. This is where the hate come from, man. And like I said, when you go on, the guys that are like in the business, they'll make reasons why, oh, this is a bad business move or whatever. Deep down inside, they know that shit is a threat to what they doing. So when you listen to some of these guys that they talk bad about, things like PBC and Deion Sanders and how he does things, and oh, what this is not right, and that, this and that, they're scared that what he's doing is going to stop their pockets from getting that cash flowing is as lucrative as it's been coming. He's a threat. And you have the people that, and some of them look like you, some of them a little lighter than us, some of them are real lighter than us, don't like it because, they don't like it because they just don't like us. But these be the same people that take your language and your lingo, your the way we dress like you and talk like you and all of that, and be like, yeah, you're my friend, but then deep down inside, they don't want you to succeed. You know what I'm saying? Because they have that same train of thought that they've been taught for throughout their way of life, to look down on people of color because we're a threat. With that, we'll end this. Go get those books, Two-Face, Rise of a Menace. Good Friday, if you're into horror, you like a good slasher. My man with the Miss Potato Head mask, you check that one out, man. That's a good book. And Secrets of Deception, like I said, that's a great short story read about a couple of hitmen. Check that out. Go on Amazon, cop the book, like, share, subscribe, and I'll holler at y'all later.